Hey, today the support team answers a question about a capeless option. The Arrowhead team responds to a question about a patch. I'll show you how to fly in Helldivers 2 using a glitch, and there's much more we'll be going over together. If you would like to support the channel, please hit the like button below at any point, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Let's start off with the capeless question. We can see a player here ask the support team member about being able to choose a no cape as an option when customizing a Helldiver. Sadly, it appears that the Arrowhead team does not want to give players the option to be capeless due to the Helldivers 2 lore. We can see a player here on Reddit posted this screenshot where he asked the support team member about it. The response from the team wrote this: "Hey there are no plans to allow players to go around capeless, nor will there ever be. It would simply not be believable in terms of in-game lore that Helldivers would be allowed to take off their capes. It would be like asking the developers of a Batman game to make Batman go around without his mask. Feel free to use mods to go around capeless like an anti-democrat, but do not expect us to ever do that. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any further questions. Have a democratic day, Chris." Well, it seems that the Arrowhead team are taking the lore seriously, similar to games like Warhammer, where they also take the lore seriously, so I suppose we will never see a capeless option. However, if you're on PC, then you can obviously modify the in-game files so that you don't have a cape. Other than that, there will never be an option to remove it. Is it a big deal? Probably not, yet at the same time, I think it's always nice to give players more customizable options. Perhaps they could give us different capes, like a shorter cape, or a cape with a hood on it. That would also be awesome to see. What do you think about the Arrowhead team's response to capes? Would you like to see different capes and an option to remove the cape, or no? Let me know what you think. Alright, as you all know, we didn't receive a hotfix patch today, and neither did we get one last week, so what's going on with that? It appears the Arrowhead team are working on giving us information about the Democracy Space Station, and plus I believe there's going to be a somewhat bigger patch on the way. Now, before I explain why I think there's a decently big patch coming, let's see what the community manager's response was about there not being a patch today. We can see a player on the official Helldivers 2 Discord asks about the patch, and the community manager Twinbeard responded with this: "Over the years, I've found peanuts and pieces of meat in there, and since joining Arrowhead, the occasional hotfix in between patches. We're working on some basic info on the DSS, which we feel has been lacking and which is a good thing, regardless of updates." Well, there might not be an update this week, yet we might end up receiving news about the Democracy Space Station soon enough, whatever that entails. I have a good feeling that they might address the community's response to the planetary bombardment, since that wasn't well received, and they might be adjusting the voting system as well, considering Twinbeard talked about the election system in a previous post, which would be really nice to see. With that being said, what about the next update? Will it be a hotfix, or will it be a decently large patch? Well, that could be the case, although you can take the next information with a grain of salt. The support team member responded to a few players, not directly towards a specific player, but the Vitamin posted this: "This is how the patch cycles have gone since the game was released. An update is released, then there are a couple of hotfixes, and then there's nothing for a while until the next update." Interesting. Could the next patch be slightly larger since it's not a hotfix? That could be the case. And I suspect they'll be dropping news about the next Warbond soon, since the Arrowhead team have decided to drop one every 6 weeks. It used to be 4 weeks, yet we know from the latest interview they talked about how they changed it from 4 weeks to 6 weeks. So I would keep your eyes peeled for the next Warbond announcement. Once it's made, I'll be sure to update you all on that in a future video, so make sure you are subscribed with those notifications turned on. Moving along, I've got a cool trick to show you that was not discovered by me, but I think you'll find it quite useful and fun to do in game. If you didn't know, you can actually fly in the sky as high as you want. This is a glitch, but don't worry about receiving a ban because it won't happen. What you'll want to do is go into your settings and change your binds, either for controller or keyboard. For instance, I'll be doing this on console. We are going to head towards the bottom here where it says crouch, prone, and climb. Once you're at this section, you will need to go to the bottom, tap the left side of the climb bind, and quickly double tap up at the same time. At this point, you will stack the user interface on the crouch bind, allowing you to choose long hold for the crouch. If you've done this correctly, you should see on the left side it says long hold. Now, you cannot use long hold on crouch normally. However, since we glitched the user interface, you can now use it on crouch. Okay, once you've successfully done the user interface glitch, we can now choose a planet to dive onto. We want to find a slanted part of a building or a boulder, something that's slanted. For example, I'll get on top of this building where there's this slanted side. You'll want to hold the circle button. For you, it might be a different key or a button, depending on what you assigned your binds to. Now, hold the crouch button. For me, it's going to be circle and move off of the building. And you'll notice that you are now floating or essentially flying in the sky. Now, if you want to move up in the air, you'll want to head towards the direction of the slanted part that you dropped off of, and it's that simple. This was not discovered by me. It was found by a group named Exploit Theory, and it's really a neat glitch that is quite fun to use in game. There's actually a small benefit to doing this, considering the Terminids cannot reach you and you can shoot down at them. But other than that, it's just a harmless fun glitch that I thought I would share with you all. Next, I want to give you a warning. What we're going to discuss is some data mine news. What I suggest you do is that if you're not a big fan of potential future plans, then I would head towards the description below and choose a different timestamp. So this way you can skip past this part of the video. With that said, what we have today is a potential event that was revealed by Ironsights on X. He discovered this in the files and wrote, Plandath 2 special event. There is some sort of event tied to this planet that will result in a biome change. During this event, a large blue ring planet appears, illuminating the surface of the planet. This event is set up similarly to how the Meridia black hole was. That's awesome. As you can see, there's apparently an event that could possibly happen at some point in the future, similar to the Meridia event. That is if the Arrowhead team does not change their plans at all. Overall, I think this is great news. I would like to see more in-game events, like how before Meridia turned into a black hole. It was kind of cool to see the warning on the ship before being sent back to Super Earth, and seeing the changes on the galactic war map was also cool. Personally, I enjoy live events, and it's entertaining for me at least. Nonetheless, what sector will this planet be on? Ironsights revealed that it could be on the Altus sector. But again, as I've mentioned earlier, this might not happen. The developers might just scrap the plans, or they might not, so we'll see as time goes on. Next up, we have the newest major order that requires us to reach a certain amount of kills with the machine guns. However, I'm confident that we will not finish this major order at all. Right now, as we speak, we can see there's 10 million kills so far for the Stalwart, 12 million kills for the machine gun, and lastly 5 million kills for the heavy machine gun. We've got about 5 days left to complete this, and I don't think it's going to be completed, but that's what I think. We do have a major order briefing message. If you haven't seen this just yet, then allow me to go over it here in this video. The briefing message says, the Ministry of Defense is conducting a machine gun efficacy review for which it has requested Helldivers support for data collection. The Helldivers are ordered to kill the enemies of freedom using the following support weapons: the M105 Stalwart, the MG43 machine gun, the MG206 heavy machine gun. The machine gun that reaches its targeted kill goal first will be understood as the most efficacious and Helldiver approved machine gun. The citizens who work on the factory lines for the winning weapon will receive a free lunch hour. In addition to increasing our understanding of Freedom's arsenal, this review will serve our key strategic goal of reducing the number of enemy combatants through any means necessary. So far, it seems like a major order filler, to be fair, but who knows, maybe it's not. Maybe the Arrowhead developers are gathering data for a specific reason, whatever that may be, and that could be the reason as to why we have this new major order. What do you all think about the latest major order? Is it a filler, or do you think the developers are gathering data for a specific reason? I'd like to know what you think, so comment down below. Speaking of the Gloom, we actually have a shot at sending the Democracy Space Station into the Gloom. There's a voting option for 4E Prime. If you haven't done so already, feel free to vote for 4E Prime, and let's see what will happen if it's sent to the Gloom. Like, really, it would be insane if we could land on the planet within the Gloom. But yeah, try voting for it right now. Since we're on the topic of content, if you're wondering about it and whether or not there will be anything that will be released before 2025, I think we'll see a Warbond for sure, like I mentioned earlier, but there could also be more content on the way. Twinbeard answered a question about whether we can expect any content before Christmas. His response was interesting. He wrote this in response. Come on now, you know I can't answer that in detail. Hypothetically though, if nothing at all happened until next year, it would mean, what, 2 to 5 months without any updates, which would be a fairly big step away from our content cadence historically. I believe this response is basically a hint that there will be content, since he brought up how it would be a fairly big step away from their content cadence. Plus, recently Twinbeard denied that none of the content has been delayed. So I'm going to say that we can definitely expect an update and content before Christmas. Not sure, Twinbeard could not get into the specifics as to what is coming, but he did mention that there's going to be a lot of improvements and changes. You can see in this reply, he wrote this: I know a lot of stuff about things we're planning for the game, and I most certainly can't say much about most of it. For a lot of changes and improvements being made, I hope we can get more frequent info in. I'd really love to do a FAQ to 2 with Pillin et al. For example, we'll see. As I've just said, he brought up both changes and improvements are being made. We know as of right now, a few days ago, Twinbeard brought up how they are planning on updating the galactic war map, and hopefully that will help out with the future major orders. I'm expecting a tutorial to explain what Gambit is, and that I think would be amazing to see, as well as DK rates and whatnot. Also, the community manager replied to a question about communication and why there hasn't been any as of late, since Arrowhead promised there would be better communication between the developers and fans. Twinbeard's response can be seen right here, and he responded with this: actual change has definitely happened. The patch note trailers weren't a thing until 2 months ago. Now we're doing talking heads trailers. And more are coming soon. Our blog cadence has increased. Our patch notes, both the process and the detail level of information, has been improved. We're doing TikTok videos and a little more on YT, and more is coming. A content studio for recording vlogs, streaming, doing interviews, and or possibly podcasting in the future is nearly finished, which is a pretty big thing in itself and us building for the future. The whole communication process is being looked over, with several improvements being made, etc. Things take time, but to say we're not making progress is neither correct nor fair. Personally, I don't think the communication has been bad at all as of recent, especially since the community managers and support team have been doing an exceptionally great job at responding and answering questions. I believe once the content studio is up and running, we should see more communication being done, and I'm quite excited about that. The blogs and streams are what I'm looking forward to the most. Lastly, for today's video, we've got a suggested loadout from the previous video. If you have already submitted a comment prior in a different video, try again, comment your loadout again, and if it gets enough upvotes, I'll select it and feature it in the next video. With that said, we have a subscriber named Tarzanable1439 that commented this loadout that's called the Thundercloud Formation. We are using the explosive crossbow, which is insanely good on hive guards, commanders, enemies in large groups, and plugging bug holes on bug planets. Not only that, we have the bushwhacker for hive guards and commanders as well. I prefer to use the option to shoot all rounds at once for enemies with armor, and the normal mode for basic bugs. For grenades, we have the option to choose smoke or gas. I chose gas personally. I enjoy it the most, and you can throw it at enemies to confuse them and use the orbital Gatling barrage right afterwards, which, by the way, the Gatling barrage was a recommended stratagem for this loadout. The second stratagem is the 500 kg bomb for enemies in groups, but mostly on larger enemies like impalers, bile titans, and chargers. The third stratagem is the shield backpack, and I don't use this as often as I should. It's incredibly fun to use and can block a lot of attacks. It's useful especially when you're low on stims or if you have none. Lastly, for this loadout, we have the arc thrower that can either help your team by exterminating bugs or kill your teammates in the process, considering the range on this arc thrower is pretty good. So far, I haven't had a negative thing to say about any of the loadouts recommended in the past, and this one is another loadout that deserves a 5 out of 5 John Helldiver medals. Incredibly useful, especially with the shield pack. Alright, with all the information being said, this is your Helldivers 2 news. If you guys would like to be featured in the next video, all you have to do is post a comment below, and if it gets enough upvotes, you might just be featured. The first top comment is from the Lonius2213. I wish the economy got a bit of an update. As a super Helldiver, I find myself constantly lacking rare samples while having an abundance of common samples and super uranium. Perhaps a system where you can exchange super uranium for rare samples could be a fix, or just increase a amount of rare samples that you can find in a cluster. Metals also should have a hard cap in my opinion. Yep, we absolutely need a way to exchange our metals or samples for something, right? And the cap limit for the metals, yeah, I absolutely agree. It needs to be a lot higher because, honestly, there's a lot of times where I've received just 0 metals because, you know, I've got the maximum amount. So yeah, we definitely need that. The second top comment is from Gloverino. You can hold aim while reloading the spear to pre-lock onto targets for quick turnarounds like bot ships, etc. You know what, Gloverino? I haven't used the spear in quite some time, so I didn't know about that. Maybe I need to start using it again. I've also seen some lock-on target issues. I'm not too sure if that happened in the previous update, but it appears there's some issues behind it still. And the last top comment is from Nix Nicoli. Eagle's got a projectile AP buff. It's not the explosion, it's hitting something directly with the bomb. I believe this response was from the previous video about buffs, and yeah, I did know that, so thank you for responding with that comment. Those right there are the top 3 comments. Now, what you guys need to do is subscribe and turn on your notifications, and also give this video a like. That way you can save a bunch of super citizens from being murdered by a bunch of Terminids. Who knows? Maybe one will try to impregnate one of the humans. Okay, that seems a little odd, but you get what I'm saying. Save the super citizens from being mutated into some weird bug human. So do it now. Give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can save a bunch of super citizens, because you guys like doing that, right? Alright, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.